The ProAct
Thanks,
Know-How.
Sam. Welcome to this webinar for living and working abroad. And it's the 16th, 17th of January today, and we're coming up to a Brexit countdown. The bill has been passed by the the UK Parliament. It now needs to be ratified by the EU Parliament. This is what's going through at the moment. If the EU Parliament rejected it, then the treaty wouldn't be ratified. In fact, the law that's gone into the European Parliament is a two-line bill that says the EU-UK withdrawal treaty is submitted and agreed, and to recommend that the EU accept that, and the EU Commission accept that and implement it. So Brexit is going to go ahead on the 31st. There's nothing that's practically going to stop that process. And so now UK and EU expats should be planning ahead and looking forward to what's to come. The trade deal has been the big issue for many people, and the EU are setting out their terms of how they're going to deal with that in terms of training programs available to EU staff that show them how they're going to progress with the trade negotiations, and they're very much sticking to the political declaration of intention to get the agreement made before the end of 2020. So I'll be interested to see if that does happen. If it doesn't, then there's been removed by the UK the option to extend the transition period. Now, it was originally an intention of the EU to do that, and there's still talk by the new EU Trade Commissioner that he would like to do that. But as we've seen this week with China and USA, they can come up with some form of trade deal which allows us to move forward. In the withdrawal treaty, EU citizens' rights is included, for example, but this is actually a grey area for expats. Now, the UK have unilaterally implemented a guarantee of EU citizen rights, so all EU expats living and working in the UK before the end of the transition period, that's the end of December 2020, the end of this year, have got the right to apply for settled status. So once they've been in the UK for 5 years, they get a settled status, a full settled status, which allows them to remain in the UK, living and working for the rest of their life without any citizenship requirements, to live and work and get benefits. So that's an important step that's taken. That is not reciprocated by individual EU countries around towards EU citizens. Now, part of that is seen in the transition material that the EU are producing, because they're emphasising in everything that they're saying that they must stick to message, that they must have a uniform approach. There are 27 countries left in the EU, and some of them will have different priorities on labour, on fisheries, on trade, on motor vehicles, and those different countries will have their own vested interests. The EU's trick is to come up with something that meets all countries' expectations, and the UK to agree before the end of 2020. So that could be potentially difficult, but we need to be absolutely clear that EU citizens in the UK can apply now for settled status to live and work, and practically, unless anybody's got a severe criminal record, nobody has been turned down from that. People haven't made the application or they've been asked for more documentation. That's a different process, and if any EU expats in the UK need help with that, then contact us at ProActPartnership.com. Our UK office address and telephone number is available on our website at ProActPartnership.com. On the other side, it's not universally reciprocated by the EU countries, which is partly because we're waiting for a Brexit to happen. So after the 31st of January, the UK will be outside the EU, although just going along with the rules until the end of the transition period, the end of 2020. and partly because of this unified approach that they want. But some countries have already stepped forward in terms of residency rights, in terms of healthcare rights, and the ability to work. But what we do know is that for all expats living and working in the EU, we know what the rules are for EU citizens, and we know what the rules are for non-EU citizens about healthcare, residency, working rights, social insurance benefits, and forming a company, forming a business and trading. So we can, businesses can plan ahead by adapting their business to have an EU branch or an EU representative if that's what's needed to meet their needs. Conversely, UK expats have still got to the end of 2020 to secure their residency registration in their EU country, which will lead to an EU equivalent of settled status called permanent residency. So any expat that has not confirmed a residency registration or a permanent residency, if that's what's needed, before the end of the transition period, should take action on that this year. That should be your number one goal, to secure your long-term living and working abroad in the EU. And any expats that want help with that, again, they can contact us at our website at proactpartnership.com. So EU citizens' rights are well protected in the UK. Looking for reciprocation on that with the EU. That process can start after January the 31st when the legislation goes through, but it's only going to be then that the EU start drawing up their terms of reference for that trade negotiation deal. It is a bureaucracy, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. Meanwhile, UK expats in the EU and EU expats in the UK can plan ahead knowing what's required for non-EU citizens and what's going to be required for EU citizens. We've got that transition period where expats can make that move now, make that relocation, adapt their business, protect their properties to secure their future. And we'll be looking at how things unfold in the next couple of weeks, and media action should start in March. But expats have still got the same rights all this year. So whether it's your pension, whether it's your tax status, your residency, your property, your business, take action now to protect your assets, protect your income, protect your lifestyle, protect your family, and you can enjoy living and working abroad without any material change going forward. We've been talking recently as well about protecting assets, that there's a different arrangement for wills and estates in the EU to the UK. And this could mean that expats, UK expats, even although they're living and working in the EU, can still end up having to pay UK inheritance tax. So if you're concerned because you've got UK assets, or you might still be deemed to be domiciled in the UK, then you should contact us for a free review with one of our consultants. If you've got property assets or investment assets or business assets anywhere around the world, and you're come from the UK, then you've got a potential domicile liability of inheritance tax on death of 40%, and that can make a big difference to a family. Now, there are some concessions in the UK and there's some allowances, and that might cover it. It's not always charged on first death, but then that can create a complication for a widow or the children, the family to look after in later years. If an expat needs to relocate back to the UK for business, work, health, old age reasons, nursing care needs, then that can undo 40 years of expat life can all be dumped back into a UK inheritance tax. So lots of things to consider, and a free review with our consultants at proactpartnership.com will help you with that. Just go to our Contact Us page and ask for that free review. We've got guides on our website as well which give a bit more information. And the other place is obviously here on Facebook on our Living and Working Abroad page. You can ask questions, and our online team, our client services team, can help and assist you answering general questions and giving guidance on how EU expats in the UK can secure their citizen rights, and how UK expats already in the EU as expats or considering relocating to the EU, they can take advantage of the situation going forward. Lots of opportunities out there for people. It's a very exciting time. Will the bells ring out on Brexit Day? Who knows? We'll try and feature that and get you some more information. It'll be a big event. It's a complete change in the law and the structure of the UK, but it actually won't make much difference day to day. The transition period is ahead, and we now know that now is the time for expats, knowing what we do about EU and non-EU rules and regulations in the UK and in the EU, to take action now to protect their family and business living or working abroad. Thanks for listening. Ask the questions below and get back to us, and whether you need a review of your domicile, put some overseas assets in trust to protect your family. These are things that we can help you with, and we look forward to following our webinars every Friday, and register for our regular emails, and watch our vlogs and our YouTube channel for Living and Working Abroad, and stay with us this year, and we'll be with you every step of the way. Thanks very much, and see you next time.
The ProAct Know-How, brought to you by ProAct.